This is the front wheel from a Bugaboo Donkey, and today we're going to show you how to replace the tire and inner tube. First thing you're going to need to do is to screw out the axle, and you're going to need 2 screwdrivers in order to do that. This says CRV6. I used to think that referred to millimeters. I am not so sure at this moment, but that's what it should say on your screwdriver heads. You'll need 2 identical ones, and you'll place them in the axle head on either side of the wheel. And then you can just unscrew it. And remove the 2 parts of the axle. Now we can pull the wheel away from the wheel fork, and now we can start working with the tire and inner tube. You're going to want to remove the cap from the inner tube nozzle. And you're going to want to release any extra air that is inside. You can just squeeze on the tire as you do that. Then you're going to need to pop off the tire. I'm using a pair of fancy spoons today, but you can actually use real tools for this. You want something that's flat and a little bit rounded. Flathead screwdrivers are not a good call for this, or butter knives, because they are too sharp and they will damage the inner tube on the inside. So something that's flat but a little bit rounded, or the correct tools. You want to pop up the tire to pry it over the rim. When you work your way a little bit under half, you can start to use your hand for this and just pull it up. Now, if you're only going to replace the inner tube, you just now need to pop the nozzle through and remove the inner tube. And then you could put a new inner tube directly in without removing the tire. But I'm going to show how to remove the tire as well today. Now, if you were to remove the tire, you would pop the rest of the tire over the edge of the rim. Yes? And you can take your new tire, and you want to start pushing it over the edge of the rim on one side. Leaving it open so that you can put the inner tube in. On these front wheels, I believe they are 10-inch inner tubes. The back are 12. You want to make sure that the nozzle lines up with the hole, and then you want to push the inner tube in around. Then you can take the nozzle and push it up through the hole. If you're using a straight nozzle and you find that it keeps popping back into the rim as you work, then you can put the cap back on the nozzle as it's pulled through. I'll show you what I mean. So now as you do the rest of the process, if this is popping back in, just apply the cap on while you do it so that it can't fit through the hole. And now you want to push this tire back over the edge of the rim. And what's important here is that you don't catch the inner tube between the tire and the rim. It needs to be entirely inside. So you need to pay attention while you're doing it. I like to start where the nozzle is and then work my way a bit around to either side. There we go. And then you want to make sure, after checking that the inner tube is not between the tire and the rim, you want to make sure that the tire is sort of evenly spaced out on all sides. And this is why they put, I've already placed the tire on, but they put this extra little rim here, this extra ring on the inside. There's a line there, so you can see if that line is like pushing too far out from the rim. This is one of the reasons it's important to take the wheels off the stroller when you pump them, is because otherwise gravity pushes it down and pushes the top part of the tire up, and that makes for a bumpy ride when you're driving the stroller. So now the tire is put back in place, and we're going to pump it. Screwing the pump in place. just before you get it fully pumped, you can have one more look that you don't need to adjust it in or out a bit to get that tire even. And then you can keep pumping. You can put a little extra air in because you're going to lose a little bit when you remove the pump. Replace the cap. Now we can screw this back onto the fork. Sliding the fork back in place. Putting the larger part of the axle through. And it can screw on here. And we'll just use our screwdrivers to get this tight. Go. Now the wheel is put back together. So I hope this has been helpful. If you have found it helpful, we would appreciate it if you would subscribe, as it helps us to continue making videos in the future. Thank you.